Welcome everyone. Happy Wednesday. I'm the Grace Strega and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Wednesday, November 13th, 2024. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first two cards in our 5-card spread for today? We've got here our Knight of Swords in its upright and our 5 of Cups in its reversal. I like this energy today. I like this energy. This is pep talk energy. This is pulling oneself up. This is giving that sense or that space of not dwelling in what feels energetically negative. We were seeing this yesterday, if you'll recall. We were seeing this in a big way. A lot of this is going to be having a big impact and a different impact depending on where you find yourselves on the frequency cycles. Now, for masculine and feminine energy, deep within divine union, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. What has been a lot of the journey work that we've been seeing over the last few weeks, or even the last week, that ability of recognizing, identifying, finding the hidden reserve within to bring forward for the counterpart. This is a lot of gift that we see that is happening right now in divine union. It's not easy. It's like it's like literally kind of like spinning straw into gold to a certain extent. Because that ability of not energetically feeling something and then seeing the energy of the counterparts in lack and being able to generate that part of the self that you did not know exist, that's the embodiment of the power of love. And for a lot of this energy right now, a lot of the things that we saw yesterday was a bit of that preciousness, a lot of that conscientiousness, a lot of that protectiveness that is effectively occurring right now via the energy of the counterparts. Why are we seeing this? Because a lot of this energy right now is working forward in such a way that when you're building upon the power of purpose, when you're driving forward towards a purpose, to sit and dwell in a space of sadness, that navigating grief, it feels energetically self-indulgent. This is the energy that moves that, and I have to stress this, right? When we're in that space and we grieve for ourselves, it creates that energetic heaviness. When we hold energetic grief for those around us, what does it do? It does the opposite. It empowers. It activates. It moves us into energetic movement, right? Because that ability, and we even saw holding space, if you will, while it feels self-indulgent for the self, that ability of feeling the amplification of activation, right? Letting that propel one forward. We saw that even here. This is how the counterparts are loving one another right now. And it feels activating. Because a lot of that is being very energetically patient, and it is having a different impact on masculine and feminine energy, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. You'll recall, and we kept getting a lot of these messages right now of feminine working through that space of contemplation, right? Going inwards to a certain extent. I just see a lot of the feminine energy right now being like, if you need me, I'll be in my mind palace. Going to my library, right? A lot of that energy, because that sense of contemplation, why do we see so much of the feminine energy in that modality right now? There's repositioning that's occurring. There's that sense or space of recognizing how to energetically carry something. And that ability of energetically carrying something, we see is requiring a lot of that journey of the feminine in terms of going inward. What is a lot of the masculine energy doing right now via being supportive to the feminine? Is this masculine energy that is being prescriptive? Is this masculine energy that is articulating to feminine how they should energetically carry something? No. There's a lot of that energy that is being very energetically patient towards feminine. They're working through it. There's a lot of this work I see of the masculine energy, almost active listening to a certain extent, because a lot of that work and being able to facilitate and carry forth in that way, this is the amplification of what feels like it is energetically protective, because we remember here that sake of compassion is not articulated so much upon knowing what is best for another, but identifying and recognizing and empowering the self to recognize and articulate what it is that is best for them. So we see that this is the energy of the counterparts that is working in that space, because that amplification of understanding where the act of compassion is, it feels energetically supportive. It feels energetically sustaining. And this is the energy that is loves one another, and they love one another because they energetically listen to one another. So a lot of that energetic listening I see right now is navigating and creating that space of, again, being able to bring forth towards one another, even in a space of not needing to be able to articulate a need, because you intuitively know what that energetic feeling of support is, right? There's a lot of that energy even here that almost, it feels, I want to say, it feels almost like that relief, because this is the energy that can almost, like, I want to say, pre-recognize, anticipate, create that space, right? And a lot of that energy here, it feels almost beyond words, because that ability of being able to be beyond words that we're recognizing here, this is the energy that feels that power of alignment, particularly in relationality to having that same sense or space of not wanting to dwell in an energetic point of frustration or sadness, but letting it empower oneself for the sake of the energetic counterpart. While for masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, this is a lot of the energy I'm seeing coming into divine union. It feels restorative. There's a lot of energy right now that is feeling restorative, and that sense or that space of feeling like anything is possible. This is the reason that this energy feels like anything is possible right now, because they're recognizing and identifying the power of their own ability in being able to transform the energetic connection, right? This is a lot of that energy coming into divine union right now that is effectively just, they're seeing the relief that they're bringing towards something. This is energy coming into divine union right now that is healing an energetic connection, and it's not starting from a place of being prescriptive. It's starting from being able to heal the self. Masculine and feminine navigating different journeys in that way. For masculine, this is a lot of the masculine energy that is working upon being more energetically attentive towards the feminine. Remember, we're seeing a lot of those messages in relationality to active listening, not just being energetically prescriptive, but being attentive in relationality to how another desires something to be carried, which is the amplification of love. While for feminine, that ability of recognizing and identifying, being patient with masculine energy that is working through a lot of that work, identifying and recognizing the difference between the masculine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, that says, wait for me to desire to change, as opposed to the masculine saying, be patient with me as I learn to do something, and there's a bit of a learning curve. We see even now that there's a lot of that energetic restoration that's occurring. It's not easy, because this is energy that's recognizing that they just navigated something that wasn't perfect, but something that has improved, something that they can recognize that there has been an improvement upon, the ability to even look back upon something, not from a point of resentment, but almost from an ability to be able to feel the alignment of being able to assess how one could do something differently or how one could do something better. These are the energies that are attentive because they've changed their prioritization point in the power of the feeling of working together instead of feeling that sense of tug of war, trying to pull apart. And this is why I see a lot of the energy in separation right now is feeling a lot of that easement, because a lot of the energy in separation right now is feeling a lot of energetic alignment, a lot of restoration, focusing on what feels like it is restorative. And I see even now, if this is energy that is feeling like provoked in some way, that provocation point, it's almost reaffirming to the energetic connections, the determination point in relationality to the direction that they're moving towards, right? Because that feeling, that feeling of provocation, that feeling of energetic resistance, this is the energy of someone feeling triggered and reacting forward from such a point. This is a lot of the energy that I see in separation that is articulating and remembering that ability of feeling triggered, it's within all of us. What you choose to do with it, that is the amplification of how far you've come and how far you've healed. So I see even now a lot of that energy walking that fine line in separation. And I told you, this is that work of identifying what one feels is integral versus what one feels is adaptable. And I can see even now some energy in separation, drawing some very firm lines or building into that sense of, again, the recognition of strength. Like the sense, I just see a lot of this energy in separation saying, do not mistake kindness for weakness, right? That ability of being energetically kind, I can see a little bit of that energy saying, I'm energetically kind, but I also know how to draw a line, right? Third card in our 5-card spread, center card of our read for today, as all the cards want to flip out. We've got 2 flying out today. We've got here, you saw it yourself, we've got 2 flying out today. We've got here our King of Cups in its upright in combination with our 3 of Pentacles in its reversal. Like this is more of that adaptability I'm seeing even now. There's a lot of energy right now that's keeping a very open mind on things across the frequencies, but also that affirmation or that focus in relationality to what feels like it is energetically positive here. I'm just seeing this right now. For a lot of the energy in separation, everything I'm seeing here, and this is big for feminine energy right now, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. And we were seeing this heavily in yesterday's reading as well. And this is why I saw so much of some of the feminine energy like going into their mind palace to a certain extent. Because that ability of saying to oneself, being kind but drawing lines, this is a lot of the energy of the feminine that's navigating that state or space of building into the context of strong love is what I'm seeing. I just keep hearing strong love in relationality to the energy in separation. Why? Because that energy in separation, recognizing and identifying that ability of being energetically flexible or that ability of being energetically compassionate, it reaches a point of limitation in relationality to what another energetically aspires and desires for, right? I just keep seeing that. We were seeing this yesterday as well. A lot of this energy being in that space of feeling like class is over to a certain extent. I feel like any of the energy of feminine that felt like they were moving into some kind of energetic connection, trying to bring into that space of educating, trying to build into that space of understanding. I just keep seeing a lot of this energy of feminine kind of navigating spaces and places of saying to masculine that journey of the self, that journey of wanting to understand the self. This is a lot of the feminine energy, remembering that not all the masculine energy is in that modality, just as a lot of the masculine energy recognizes the same from feminine, right? And so we see even now, this is why I see so much of the feminine energy in separation, being very energetically observant to a certain extent, because that ability of recognizing and doing so, this is a lot of the energy that feels like a lot of that work in separation is built and based upon discernment. Trying to recognize and identify the energy of the masculine that is working towards the sense of understanding the self, not just to come into proximity to feminine, is what I'm seeing. Not just for the sake of coming into proximity to feminine, but honestly for the true sake of the self, right? That journey of the self that is fundamental within the self. I see even now a lot of that energy of the feminine that is moving towards those energetic connections with masculine, even in separation, wherein someone is moving through that space or place of, again, holding space, right? Holding space for feminine, building into that sense of energetic compassion. This protection we create for one another is by holding space as it relates to the desires that we have. So we see even now a lot of strong energetic connections that are forming at this time for energy and separation, and they are fundamental. They are fundamental because I see even now a lot of those energetic doors that are closing in the process, because this is the energy of the reactivity in relationality of how one navigates another place of someone holding pain. And for masculine energy, I see a lot of the masculine energy in healing feeling very fundamental in the same way. The power and degree of this energetic empathy that I see that is happening right now for masculine that is moving towards feminine. I feel like this is a lot of work. Like they're saying to me, like instant alignment, instant recognition, instant identification. Because so much of this here, what we're really seeing is so much of that expansiveness, that emotional empathy, that ability of articulating. And we saw this even yesterday. There's a lot of energetic frustration that I'm seeing for a lot of the masculine energy and separation that's on that healing journey, because that observation of feeling like you are carrying the energetic weight of two, if you will, having to carry the energetic burden of the working towards healing into a certain capacity, while also having to carry the energetic weight of the masculine energy that's not in that space of healing. We see even now that so much of that feels like it's energetically fundamental, because this is the energy of masculine that's healing that feels like they're basically Atlas at this time. They feel like they're having to hold up double the weight, carrying the burden not only of the journey of self-healing, but also feeling energetically accountable for the energy of masculine that's not necessarily on that same energetic journey. It's heavy stuff. It's heavy lifting, but it's valuable and it's important, because I see even now, this is a lot of the energy feeling the expansiveness in separation, in relationality to what they're effectively trying to build and how they're effectively trying to build it going forward. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, coming into divine union, taking new approaches, moving in different ways, a lot of that adaptability, a lot of that recognition, if you will. I see even now that for so much of that energy coming into divine union, this is the energy that is supporting one another along the way, because this is an energy that is articulating and saying to one another that it's required to be energetically perfect in order to facilitate forward into energetic connection. But that ability of self-assessing, that ability of recognizing, that ability of identifying, that ability of processing through. This is a lot of the energy that looks towards conflict, not as something to be energetically avoided, but something that is introspected upon, because it is through the introspection of energetic conflict that we find new solutions. We find deeper understanding of the self. By moving towards the discomfort of an energetic trigger, we clarify and we build upon that recognition of what we could do energetically better. So I see even now, there's a lot of that energy here coming into divine union that is taking different approaches. And it is a different journey right now for masculine and feminine, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. For a lot of the masculine energy I'm seeing right now coming into divine union, this is a lot of the energy, and I keep seeing it again, a lot of inner child healing that is potentially happening for the energy of masculine moving deeper into divine union right now. Because that ability of being energetically mindful, right? There's a lot of this observation here that feels like, I want to say, like subtle, like it's recalibration, right? It's recalibration, particularly in the realm and space of one's own strength or one's own volatility. Like I see that even here. And a lot of that energy in doing so, it feels like that. Again, I see a lot of that fine tuning. But I have to stress this. This isn't happening outside of the self. This isn't the masculine that's feeling someone that is like, moving that, like working them into that space of saying that you have to be energetically perfect. I see a lot of the masculine coming into divine union saying, I desire that for the self. And there's something about the energetic connection with the feminine that feels like it is a revelation, because it's in the observation in relationality to building forth into connection that is helping the masculine find their own self on that journey. While for feminine energy, I just see even now that for a lot of the feminine energy, this feels more difficult. This feels more difficult because you have to recognize and identify that for a lot of the energy of the feminine coming into divine union at this time, there's a lot of karmic healing that is occurring in the process. That ability of recognizing, right, working in the context of building forth with masculine that is in that place of self-reference, in that space of adaptability, in that space of being able to recognize and identify and working on those changes. It immediately calls to mind the experiences of the feminine wherein the masculine was not adaptable, wherein the masculine was not self-referential, wherein the masculine was not in the space of articulating and identifying what could change within the self, but becoming more energetically objectifying, or becoming more energetically in that space of articulating the issues outside of the self instead of within. So we see even now a lot of that work that is being unpacked. It's heavy stuff. Welcome to Scorpio season in retrograde shadow, as we're leading up into a Taurus full moon. While for masculine and feminine energy, deep within divine union right now, I just see this feels like a lot of fortification. This feels like a lot of that feeling of taking different energetic approaches in relationality to building into a space of stability. And there's a lot of adaptability here. There's a lot of the energy even here that I'm seeing that feels in that modality that whatever it takes is all it takes. But even in that space, I'm identifying here, there's a little bit of this, like, I want to say, like, it's a little bit of this, like cleansing process, if you will. Because I see even now, a lot of it has to do with the observation, and we saw this because we closed the reading yesterday with the Six of Cups in its reversal. So a lot of attention paid towards energetic connections surrounding partnerships. What feels like they're building into the same context of a foundation. What feels like they're in the same direction, building upon the same things. Because I see even now a lot of that valuation point in relationality, trying to heal something, is coming into that space. And this is some of that retrograde energy, in not necessarily just coming into the assumption of desiring the same things, but also looking fundamentally upon the basis through which another is building, right? A lot of this, like a lot of foundational stuff that is happening here. And that ability of doing so, I see even now for masculine, this may even be feeling like some kind of new approach in the realm of argumentation with other masculine energy. I just see this even now. There's something very fundamental that's happening here. For feminine, it feels like that, and we spoke about this yesterday, the identification and articulation that patience is a gift. And patience is a gift because it's a limited resource. And so a lot of the energy of the feminine, like building forward in such a way. And this is why I see like a lot of that feminine energy. I told you, like going into the library, if you will, because that's the energy that almost says, I don't have time to give energetic patience towards something, towards someone that is not showing an adaptability or ability to change, right? That's the difference that I'm seeing here. There's a lot of this approach here. And this is how a lot of the masculine is being energetically protective, because I can see even now that a lot of that space is navigating the feminine, doing a lot of that redistribution in relationality to how they're energetically carrying something. Fourth and fifth card in our 5-card spread for today is, we have here, I'm not surprised to see it, our 7 of Swords. Okay, not bad. All right. Okay, more double 7s. Do you remember all the 7s we got last week? Do you remember all the 7s we got? We've got double 7s here. We've got here our 7 of Swords in its upright and our 7 of Wands in its reversal. We're in the retrograde shadow season period, my friends. So it's not surprising that the energetic past is reemerging either metaphysically or tangibly right now, right? Because what occurs, and we've spoken a lot about this in relationality to the journey of Scorpio, right? The ability of Scorpio to hold on to things to a certain extent. Why do Scorpions hold on to things? Is it because they're energetically bitter? No. They hold on to things because the ability of carrying something forward and seeing it in different ways, that is an energetic lesson. That is an energetic gift, right? And that ability of looking at something, and I see even now that there's a lot of this path work right now in being able to energetically revisit something, but feeling more energetically secure in doing so. And I see even now, I'm just getting a lot of that energy deep within divine union, like the clearing of the throat chakra, if you will. Because that ability of not necessarily, I feel like that ability of holding something or holding something in a different way, I see even now, there's a lot of that conversation that is occurring as it relates to moving with energetic purpose. And that ability of doing so, right? That ability of recognizing and identifying, like not holding, I see even now, not holding energetic bitterness, but doing something that feels explorative, doing something that feels introspective. This is how I see and recognize that a lot of the energy deep within divine union is taking a new approach to something because it is self-referential upon the past, while at the same time, it is adaptive, it is educational, it is creative. Like I see even now that there's something about that feels energetically supportive, specifically and particularly because this is the energy that is being mindful in not just being energetically reactive, but being very intentional as it relates to how they proceed forward. Now, for masculine and feminine energy right now, coming into divine union, same exact message. Same exact message. But the interesting thing is this isn't the energy that is doing that or directing that outside of partnership. This is the energy that's recognizing those fundamental shifts that are occurring within partnership. Because this is the energetic, this is the energy that is referencing the self, referencing their own pathwork, referencing their own limitations, referencing those spaces in the past wherein they might not necessarily have recognized something that they were doing effectively or energetically to protect the self that was feeling like it was blocking them from coming into divine union, that felt like it was moving them away from what it is that they sought to create with another. And so I see even now that exploration or that journey work, for masculine, it's more self-referential. For masculine, it's more internally contemplative at this point. For feminine, it's healing from the past. It's recognizing the value and quality and characteristic of building with masculine energy that's in that modality wherein they're willing to do that work. Versus that recognition point that when we always project that outward, right? But if we're not on that journey, then it always feels like an energetic tug of war, because it's the difference of someone that's working with you versus someone that feels like you're energetically arguing with, right? While for masculine and feminine energy, in separation, same exact message. A lot of closure I see is occurring right now for both masculine and feminine. In separation. And it has everything to do with being one's own authentic version of self. All of this energy that we're seeing here, this is the energy in separation that is experiencing something in the present wherein they can be their most authentic version of self. And for masculine and feminine, those are different journeys right now. For masculine, I see that this is a lot of the masculine that is coming towards feminine in separation directly from the heart space. Directly from the heart space. Coming forward in that space of authenticity. working in that context. It's not easy for masculine. We're seeing that. It's not easy. But that ability of doing so, this is the masculine that doesn't do that work so much like as a performative act for feminine. Bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. This is a lot of the masculine that is looking towards energetic connection because they discover themselves along the way and finding the comfortability in being their energetically authentic self. I see even now it feels energetically bittersweet because I see a lot of the masculine energy navigating back and forth on the healing journey between deep emotionality, but also a lot of frustration, navigating through a lot of energetic frustration. Because I told you, a lot of the energy of the masculine on the healing journey right now feels like they're having to carry something that isn't energetically theirs to carry, right? Like that it feels like I can see the energy of the masculine being like, it's not fair, but I have to do it, right? While for feminine energy, that observation or that recognition, seeing the masculine in that modality, right? Like I almost see feminine experiencing masculine, like being apologetic towards other masculine energy. Like again, that burden, that Atlas energy, someone holding space and sharing one's own sense of mutual frustration. I see even now, there's a lot of closure that's happening right now in relationality to experiences of feminine in the past, wherein it felt like they were moving towards energetic connections that were more oppositional, that were feeling more energetically imbalanced. I see even now like a lot of like, it's heavy energy, but it's having a profound impact. And in surprising ways, I will say. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Knight of Swords in its upright in combination with our five, come on, get off the table, with our Five of Cups in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Eight of Pentacles in its reversal. This is different. This is new approaches. I also see even now there's like, this is how do I explain this? I just see a lot of energy right now in separation. And it is having a different impact on masculine and feminine, like pulling away from something, like pulling away from things, like it gives me like, and this is, I feel like the beginning of some of that retrograde, if you will, like that walking away kind of energy, that stepping back from something. And it has a lot to do, and why I'm seeing this here is because for a lot of the energy right now, something fundamental is happening in relationality to the alignment that's occurring in these energetic connections. And I will point this out, when you suddenly come into energetic alignment with someone, and there's that easement there, it creates that space of feeling energetically exhaustive in those modalities where it feels like you have to like scramble or energetically fight for like continual position in another person's life, right? Like a lot of that work that I'm seeing here is the observation of what feels energetically consistent, what feels energetically easy, versus someone coming towards you in such a way and trying to like get some kind of energetic foothold, right? Like that difference between someone saying like working in that space of kind of like pushing in versus what feels like it is just natural or what feels like it is just adaptable. And for feminine energy, I can see even now, like there's something about that feels energetically exhaustive. Like I can see a lot of the feminine energy just like working through that in a certain way. And it has to do with holding space. It has to do with the attentiveness towards the masculine approaching the feminine Not so much articulating upon one's own needs, one's own desires, versus being energetically attentive towards the feminine, holding space instead of demanding or requiring or requesting it. While for masculine energy right now, in separation, a lot of this same work that I'm seeing right now in relationality to moving towards feminine. Because I see even now the masculine energy building forth in a way of feeling the easement of being able to be one's own authentic sense of self. And for a lot of that masculine energy right now in separation, I kind of see that this is the energy of masculine, that it feels like the connections that they're building with feminine are such that it almost feels like an energetic, it feels like a release point, because this is a lot of the energy of the masculine that feels that vitality in building forth and holding space. You know, because when you're in that experience or when you're in that expression, it almost says to me, it's a masculine feeling like they're able to put that frustration to good use, right? It's almost like I see a lot of the masculine saying, this is the best way I can energetically protect the feminine at this time. While for masculine and feminine and for a lot of, and a lot of that, you know, like a lot of that work I see even now, there's a lot of that authenticity as it relates to the emotional expression, but not pushing that forward towards feminine, right? Like almost articulating to feminine at this time and saying, my emotions are important, but your emotions, like, and this is what we're going to talk about right now in terms of counterpart energy, not being prescriptive, but being conscientious, being observant, right? That amplification of empathy that is extended and expanded upon the feeling of emotionality and feeling like you're sharing another's energetic burden. You don't want to add additional to it, right? While the masculine and feminine coming into divine union, this is why we see that so much of that energy coming into divine union at this time. This is the energy that feels like they are actively healing in the act of coming towards one another in partnership, because this is the energy that feels that sense. It's not that they're doing something perfect. Some of them I even see even right now are like, I'm not sure what I'm doing, because they're taking new approaches. And when you don't know when you're doing something different, it's very common to feel like you don't know what you're doing, right? Because that sense or space are saying to one another, we're learning as we go, but seeing the hallmarks and the benchmarks of something getting better or something getting easier. This is what is empowering the energy on that journey. While for masculine and feminine deep within divine union right now, whatever it takes is all it takes. And I see even now a lot of the gift that the energy deep within divine union is giving one another at this time is adaptability. And when you prioritize an energetic connection, and that's where we're going to get back to that Ace of Pentacles in its upright and the Ace of Swords in its reversal. It's the amplification and articulation of saying, I'm adaptable in terms of anything and everything, except in my connection to you. Right? That is the expansion and the expression point of love, because that is the power of the authenticity of the connection of the energy it moves towards, which almost like it amplifies the ability, I told you, the hidden reserve, being able to find something within the self that was not possibly there. Because when we move towards manifestations, we don't just sit on our haunches and wait. We articulate and say to ourselves, I'm going to move towards that determination point, come what may. Continuing to get clarification between our Five of Cups in its reversal, our Three of Pentacles in its reversal, our King of Cups in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Page of Pentacles in its upright. This is feeling productive. And you will recall this card. This card should look familiar because we drew it in the same tier yesterday, but it was in its reversal. Now it's in its upright. Why? Because these are the energies that give each other what they need. They don't come towards one another demanding. They don't come in towards one another in that space of being energetically prescriptive. They move towards one another in any facet and in any fashion that they need to. Because this isn't the energy that feels like they move further away from themselves while moving into alignment with an energetic counterpart. This is the energy that finds parts of themselves that they didn't know existed. They move into deeper alignment as they do so. Because this is the energy that, like, again, reaches into the muck of the self and pulls out diamonds, not for the self, for the counterpart. For the act of love, being able to generate something from thin air, that feeling of love, that feeling of certainty, that feeling of conscientiousness, whatever is needed, right? While for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now, a lot of that same energetic journey that we're seeing, and it feels expansive. It feels like that energy, even I can see even now, I can see a lot of energy if you're asking someone at that time, like, how you doing? They're like, not great, but okay. Why? Because I can see the energy coming into divine union going, everything around me is terrible, except for this, except for this. Everything around me, like everything else, but this, like I see a lot of this energy being like, everything else is falling apart, but here I am in an energetic connection with someone, and I've never found myself with more certainty. I've never felt more energetically certain, right? Because this is the energy that is recognizing and identifying something intangible that they're creating with another that feels like it's becoming the energetic prioritization point. Masculine and feminine energy right now coming in separation. A lot of this energy in separation right now. That identification point. That facilitating forward, if you will. A lot of this work, I'm just seeing it even now. It's adaptable. But I want to say that adaptability point, it's adaptable in so much as they recognize that they themselves are energetically adapting. And how is the energy energetically adapting? They're no longer available for what doesn't feel like it's in alignment. I just see a lot of this energy. And this is why I see even now, like, there's a lot of this, like yes, no, like, absolutely not. Like this, I told you, short fuses here. But I need to stress this. This isn't a short fuse in someone having a hair trigger. This is a short fuse in terms of someone knowing what is for them, knowing what feels whole, knowing what feels stabilizing. And when we navigate that space of recognizing what feels energetically stable versus what does not, it creates what could be appearing as a short fuse, because there's a lot of that limitation that is occurring in relationality to what one is feeling adaptable or compassionate towards. It is having a way different impact on masculine and feminine right now. For masculine, it's almost feeling intuitive. For a lot of the masculine energy right now, I can almost see the masculine energy saying, I'm going to take that feeling of being energetically prescriptive and I'm going to bring it to other masculine who I feel need it. Like, I can see the masculine being like, I'm going to move this feeling of wanting to be prescriptive over into a space I know that it actually is in need, right? And being very energetically open towards feminine. While for feminine energy at this time, I see a lot of the feminine energy having that same I can almost see the feminine articulating their own frustration to the energetic masculine potential counterpart that gets it. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Like, there's a lot of that mutual airing of grievances, if you will. But this is why I see it even now, because that's the energy that's in that space of recognizing and identifying and holding space for one another along the way, right? Continuing to get clarification between our King of Cups and our Three of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our Seven of Swords in its upright. One card to clarify. Clarification coming through right now with our Six of Pentacles in its reversal. Everybody's like, I just gotta warn everybody, like, it feels really, I want to put it this way. What's difficult right now is I see that it's very energetically difficult to be polite at this time. I'm just seeing this here. There's so much of this pentacle energy that's arriving here. And I feel like this is more of that amplification, if you will, in relationality. And like I said, for masculine energy and separation, I see that it is prescriptive towards other, this is I told this masculine energy, taking that desire of activation and moving it towards other masculine energy. Like I see the masculine being like just taking that feeling, being like, I need to, and just bringing it towards other masculine. Because I told you, so much of that frustration or that need of feeling like you're carrying, like I see the energy being like, I'm carrying the weight for you. And I want you to understand that. Like, I want to come into that space of helping you understand how much, like, I can see a lot of the masculine energy healing being like, my burden, my journey of healing is doubled because I'm not only carrying the weight of myself in the process, but I'm also carrying your weight. Like, I see this here. And a lot of that frustration in masculine, like, this is a lot of that amplification. While for feminine energy, that same modality, if you will, that same work, that amplification and articulation, like that ability of doing so, like that same space, I see even now. I just see a lot of the feminine energy withdrawing to a certain extent. You know, like it feels like, and I told you, a lot of the feminine energy navigating what feels like a deep wound that is forming presently. Like, this is the difficulty here. This is a lot of the energy of the feminine navigating, going, I was just healing from something, and it's opened back up again. And so we see even now, like we said, that ability of navigating, of addressing an energetic wound, it feels like it's causing a lot of the difficulty, particularly as it relates to building into energetic partnership at this time. Because this is a lot of the new energetic connections that are feeling and experiencing the weight of the wound outside of the partnership itself that is impacting the internal integrity of what they're trying to create together. While for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, a lot of this energetic weight that we're seeing at this time, this is the energy that is addressing the wounds of the past in the process. And that doesn't feel necessarily like a bad thing, right? Because that ability, if these are the energies that used to have that ability, that inability of not being able to talk about something or trying to energetically avoid something that is uncomfortable, this is a lot of the energy that's moving into that modality of building into that state or space of desiring to talk about the uncomfortable, desiring to talk about what is difficult to speak towards. Because when we're trying to heal something, we don't want to energetically avoid it, because in the space of avoiding it, we allow it to increase, right? We allow it to get more difficult. So we see even now that there's something very energetically restorative there, specifically and particularly because these are the energetic connections wherein we recognize and identify that adaptability, taking a different approach. This is the energy that is almost navigating something that they recognize that they were tangibly avoiding in the past, and it's leading to an expansive point. While for masculine and feminine, that is deep within divine union right now, this is the energetic space of compassion articulated and amplified in relationality to what you're giving patience towards. I just see it even now. And the thing about it that I see is it's happening for both, like both of the energies are in alignment in this way. And this is a little bit of the message that we saw that was in separation that's now moving up to the energy with deep within divine union. Because that sense of being energetically like the amplification and articulation in making sure that you clarify to someone that you are being patient with them, that the patience that they are experiencing is not what they can typically assume to receive. I see a lot of energy deep within divine union, almost articulating to someone saying, I want you to understand where you're finding me right now is me being energetically patient. That's not necessarily the modality that one would expect me to be in, right? Because a lot of that work there, right? That ability of being almost like, creating that vector of clarity, like a lot of that work, this is what I effectively see. And it is creating, I want to say, it is creating difference right now in relationality to navigating, because I see masculine being more articulate about that. Like I see masculine being more willing to articulate upon it. And I see that for some of the feminine, it almost feels like it doesn't bear articulation. Continuing to get clarification between our Seven of Swords in combination with our Seven of Wands and its reversal. More of this double seven energy popping up that we saw last week. And you'll also see we're starting to see a lot of that retrograde occurring here, because we did start here with our eights and we're moving into our sevens. One card to clarify. Clarification coming through right now with Temperance. Everything's about patience right now. Patience is a gift because it's a limited resource. Patience is an energetic gift because it's a limited resource. But I will say here, this is different right now. This is different right now for masculine and feminine. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. For masculine energy right now, deep within divine union, so much of this work that we're seeing right now is recognized and amplified on that particular space or place. Masculine is being almost energetically patient for feminine. I recognize that for a lot of the masculine energy right now, taking a page from the feminine's book saying, I'm going to try to ascribe and build the point of patience that I see that feminine brings to things against some of the volatility I'm feeling right now. Like I see a lot of that masculine, like a lot of the masculine energy, like working through in that space. It's amplifying. It's energetically triggering. But this is a lot of the masculine that, like, I feel like this is masculine almost saying to other masculine energy, don't confuse my, like, again, this is masculine saying to other masculine energy, don't confuse my kindness for weakness. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of this like gentle giant energy I'm seeing right now occurring with a lot of the masculine energy deep within divine union. While for feminine energy right now, deep within divine union, a lot of this work that we're energetically seeing that is occurring at this time has to do in relationality to being energetically patient within the self. There's more of this energy here that is working through that space or place of not being energetically reactive, but being very steadfast to a certain extent. And again, I think that this is a lot of that Taurus full moon energy coming through, right? Because this is almost the energy that feels like that sense of wanting to be reactive and just moving even slower, right? Because a lot of this here, it feels energetically observational, right? And it feels like a lot of that energy of the feminine navigating what the observation between what feels like it requires them to be perpetually energetically patient versus being able to be their authentic expression of self. And I see even now, like I see a lot of the energy of the feminine saying, I'm trying to articulate and form the words to help recognize and identify how to communicate to someone, the difference between being patient towards them, giving them patience, versus being in that space of comfortability. While for masculine and feminine energy, and it feels like this is like a lot of that, like this is a lot of that work of the feminine deep within divine union, healing the self in the process. Because I see even now a lot of that feminine energy being less energetically pleasant, like in relationality to like doing so. Like I literally see a lot of the energy trying to find different approaches in that journey. While for masculine and feminine coming into divine union, this is the energy that feels that path of progress. Not outside the self, like not outside the self right now, but within the self. That recognition of feeling that they're healing something in the process of everything around them breaking down to a certain extent. It is re-amplifying their own energetic commitment to the value and importance of the work that they're doing within partnership, because this is a lot of the energy that's gaining a lot of perspective in the process. Continuing to get clarification between our 8 of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our Page of Pentacles in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our 10 card in its reversal. This card has been coming up like hotcakes for days. Yesterday, and it's going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It was upright and now it's reversed. It's upright, it's reversed. I told you, a lot of these energies right now, they're coming in waves, right? So I can almost see a lot of these conversations with someone in terms of saying like, how are you doing? Be like, I'm fine now. Ask me in 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that energetic back and forth to a certain extent. And so even here, I just keep seeing that there's so much of this. And I will say, the differentiation I want to point out is for the energy and separation. This is feeling like fresh start here. This is feeling like fresh start in relationality to taking different energetic approaches to things. Because for so much of this energy here, I'm just recognizing and identifying that effective work, that work in terms of recognizing what feels like it's bringing you into alignment. Even here, like fundamental closing out of energetic cycles in the process of opening up new ones. We see this all the time because again, and I have to stress here, there's something about the reopening of an energetic wound to a certain extent that feels like I see even here. It feels fundamental for the energy and separation, specifically and particularly due to the fact that ability, and I see even like, and I have to point this out because this is really important because it's having a different impact on masculine and feminine energy. We see here for masculine energy, this is feeling the energetic weight and frustration of having gone through an energetic journey, learned the valuable lessons, and now carrying the weight of the energy around you that feels like they have not reached the same destination that you have, right? Like that is like, I literally see some energy of masculine in separation, feeling the frustration and saying, you're pulling, like you're making it even harder for me to proceed upon my own journey. While for feminine energy right now in separation, a lot of that work that we're effectively seeing to a certain extent, this is a lot of that feminine energy that is building into, like this is building into that sense or that space of reactivation of energy, if you will, coming into that space and identifying and like, you know, working through in such a way that, you know, you're not like, it feels tenacious. Like it feels like there's tenacity here. Like there's a lot of the feminine energy that's getting very energetically tenacious. But a lot of that tenacity to a certain extent, it feels empowered because the energy that is moving in alignment with the feminine, like almost feels like it's validating that. It's amplifying it, right? Like this is what I meant about the discernment of difficulty that helps create alignment. While for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now, this is the energy that has hope in relationality to what's outside of the self, because they have hope in what they've recognized is capable from within. There's a lot of this energy here that I feel like they're giving themselves a pep talk and being like, if we can fix this, then anything can be fixed. like if we can fix this, then anything can be fixed. And so I feel like even now, that is the energy that's feeling the healing that they're doing in a connection, that feels in a way it's giving them hope in terms of what can be fixed outside of a connection. While for masculine and feminine energy, deep within divine union right now, so much of this work that I'm seeing here, it feels like this is the energy that feels a fundamental responsibility to get back up again. That is the power of love. Like the power of love is like, it doesn't necessarily matter how I feel about something. I'm going to continue to rise up regardless. Because a lot of that work here, right? A lot of that work is that state or space of amplifying that ability of finding something within and bringing it forth without. This is the energy of love that the counterparts are giving one another, right? And sometimes you can get really frustrated about that. I told you, it's a little bit of that, like, I'm tired, Grandpa. It's a lot of that, I'm tired. It's like, what else are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to, it's like you have to do it, right? So a lot of this energy here, they're feeling energetically tenacious, and they're not even feeling energetically tenacious for the self. They're feeling energetically tenacious for the energy around them that they care about. That is the power of energetic love. That is the power of connectivity. It brings things within us that we did not know that we are energetically capable of, because it's that sense or that space of love that we feel for others that empowers us to move forward. Continuing to get clarification between our Page of Pentacles in combination with our Six of Pentacles in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Page of Wands in its upright. Masculine and feminine energy right now in separation. I'm telling you, even now, these are new energetic connections that are forming. I just see, I know the timing isn't ideal. I can see a lot of this energy being and I almost see a lot of this energetic connection, navigating this space of I keep saying this, this uplift, right? Being like, oh, is anything new happening? Again, it's almost like that sense of they're saying to me that modality, they're almost saying to me, there's some kind of energetic connections that are forming even now that's just creating that space of immediate understanding or immediate alignment to a certain extent. Because there's so much about this here that feels, they're saying the gentleness, the gentleness by which one is moving towards another. That's almost like it's the amplification of not wanting to burden another with one's own energetic weight. But I can see even now, there's a lot of that energy that feels like they're carrying something heavy. But the grace that they're giving one another in the process is they're they're shouldering that burden, and they're almost in that space of doing so in a way that feels like it's representative of how I can see the energy almost navigating in a way of almost articulating the easement by which they're navigating, which is expression of the energetic heaviness. I know that sounds oppositional, but it's because this is the energy that almost comes into that state of saying are you gonna that articulation point of talking about the weight. It feels energetically self-indulgent, right? So we see even now that feels expansive, even in the process of doing so, because these are the energies that are noticing and paying attention to the subtle care that they're giving one another, even building forth into new energetic connections. That is patient and that is mindful, and isn't coming into that space of energetically burdening. Now, masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union. So much of this energy right now that is coming into divine union, working forward, working through, doing like a lot of this here. This is the energy that is taking new approaches towards connection. And that adaptability, that recognition of adaptability allows that context by which they're breaking new ground in their energetic relationships because they're taking new approaches. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within divine union, so much of this work that I'm seeing at this time, it feels fundamental because this is the energy that is not focusing so much on the self and prioritizing the energy in those around them. Continuing to get clarification between our Six of Pentacles in combination with our Temperance card. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Two of Cups in its reversal. Now let's just point this out. What we're recognizing right now for so much of that energy deep within divine union, that prioritization of the energetic connection is such that recognition, that ability to identify and recognize and working through, like this is the energy that like the gift of healthy partnership is that you don't need to focus upon it at every energetic moment. It's navigating forward in the background. So I see even now for a lot of the energy deep within divine union, I see a lot of that energy not like focusing so much on partnership right now because they're too busy navigating those energetic, like the energy around them that needs that service, that needs that work, right? Like that's very fundamental here. And a lot of that, I told you, this is where some of that Six of Cups in its reversal is coming through. This is in terms of navigating and recognizing what feels like it is energetically supportive, what feels like it can move into that space of healing versus what feels like there is a lack of alignment there. Continuing to get clarification between the energy coming into divine union. So much of this energy I see even now coming into divine union. What's beautiful about this is the opposite of the energy deep within divine union. There's a lot of focus here, a lot of attention on what isn't working. But this is because this is the energy that is prioritizing, refining the energetic connection. And that ability, honestly, I'm seeing even now that for a lot of the energy right now coming into divine union, the ability to recognize something that one can work to fix. The ability to recognize something that one can put some power into fixing, something that can change within the self. It's healing what may feel like it's outside the self that needs to be navigated. That needs to be in that space of like acceptance. It needs to come into that space of kind of like, recognizing the difference between an internal problem and an external problem. It actually, I know this is going to sound a little bit funny, but it says to me that a lot of the energy coming into divine union right now, seeing problems within counterpart energy that feel like things that you can actually put effort and energy into fixing. It almost feels like a balm for the things outside of the self that you feel that you cannot control at this time. Continuing for a lot of this energy and separation, this is why I see even now a lot of the energy and separation is moving towards what feels effortless. And that does not mean, I need to stress this, that does not mean that the energy moving towards one another does not feel energetic effort. But they're saying even now that the amount of effort it takes to move towards energetic connection at this time is such that even doing so, like the reason, if you're able to move towards one another right now and it feels energetically effortless, it almost feels like a gift you're giving the energetic counterpart at this time. Continuing to get clarification between our Ten of Swords in its reversal in combination with our Page of Wands in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Fool card in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy right now that is in separation. So much of this work that we're seeing in separation, it feels like the prioritization of energetic connections is such right now. That I told you, it's like that gift of easement the ability to move into a space of just creating that energetic peace for one another. I see a lot of the energy in separation prioritizing that peace and energetic joy that they can create. And that's because everything feels like it's harder to move forward right now. Everything feels like it's more energetically slow going. So a lot of that work in doing so, even here, this is a lot of that energy, that ability of carrying something lightly to a certain extent, but feeling the weight and determination on how hard that is. Like, this is what I mean about that feeling like some kind of gift that the new energetic connections are giving one another, because it feels like it feels like the normal, like the attention and direction towards energetic normalcy, while at the same time feeling almost like the weight of articulating to one another how much heavier or harder that is. While for masculine and feminine energy right now coming into divine union, this is the energy that, again, it's not that building into connection right now is easy, but this is the energy that feels like they're having breakthroughs, and that observational point, that recognition of identifying what is possible to change, that point of identifying what those breakthroughs are. I see even now the energy almost articulating one another and saying, we could have done that better. And the counterpart immediately saying, and we will next time. Because the ability of seeing something that is improving and having notes about how one can improve, this is creating further affirmation of energy that is not in the space of trying, but actively doing. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is deep within divine union, this is the energy that's being adaptable. This is the energy that's taking new approaches. And I see even now there is a little bit more. They're saying like a door, like an energetic door is closing so much in relationality to energetic compassion towards those that they feel that they're in that space of trying to educate, versus feeling that sense of confirmation of something that cannot change. Like that ability of recognizing and identifying, I see even now. It's like I see a lot of energy within divine union saying, like, if you're in that space of adaptability, like that context of allowing for the possibility of someone changing, I don't see anyone coming into that space of moving directly towards someone and articulating. But that's a lot of that energy. And I want to say this is how masculine and feminine are navigating this in different ways. Feminine is in that modality deep within divine union of not needing that sense of explaining, just potentially walking away from energetic connections if they feel like there is that separation there. Masculine is actually taking on a lot of the role of feminine at this time, being more articulate here, being more expansive, but working through and taking the energetic lesson of the feminine in relationality to identifying and recognizing that sense of not wanting to react to someone that isn't in alignment to you, but almost trying to allow that to become an educational moment. Continuing to get clarification between our Page of Wands in its upright and our Two of Cups in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Come on. Clarification coming through right now with our Page of Cups. Now, this is very interesting, because we're seeing even now a lot of the energy deep within divine union. I just see that there's a lot of amplification in relationality to how to approach like situations and circumstances outside of energetic connection. And I see it even here. There's something really fundamental about that, wherein we recognize and identify that ability of doing so, that articulation point, that adaptability. This is a lot of energy. I see that, and this is like the pre-retrograde communication to a certain extent. So much of this that I'm identifying here has to do with energetic alignment, because you'll remember that we spoke about so much of that energy feminine doing a lot of that unpacking of trauma of the past. Masculine having a lot of that inner child healing. both of these energies within divine union, articulating and expanding upon their own experiences with energy outside of partnership, specifically and particularly to identify, and again, I see like conversations in relationality to addressing circumstances, conversations in relationality to navigating that pathwork forward. Because so much of this energy that I'm seeing right now, deep within divine union, is working towards what feels positive, what feels productive, what feels amplifying, more than anything, what feels like it's in energetic alignment. And these are the difference of approaches right now between masculine and feminine, because I see even now masculine is more in that modality of feeling like, I see a lot more masculine right now communicating through. Feminine is more in that space of like, I want to say energetic quietude to a certain extent, because we keep seeing that so much of this feminine energy is in that space of rebalancing, like really working on what feels like it creates energetic balance. And so even here, like something about navigating those shifts deep within divine union, it feels like a lot of the masculine is effectively carrying the weight of the feminine to a certain extent. While for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now, again, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. This is a lot of energy that is going through some fundamental shifts within the self in the process of building into energetic connection. For masculine, it's feeling like a maturation process. It's feeling like masculine that is coming towards feminine and finding themselves on the way. For feminine, every step that this masculine I'm seeing coming into divine union comes closer to them, it feels to me like another karmic door is closing in the process, right? Because that ability of seeing the adaptability or the transformative powers of a masculine building with intentionality and a sense of purpose towards feminine, it is realigning and redefining all of the energetic lessons prior to that point to help articulate and amplify what is energetically possible. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, in separation, I'm just seeing that for so much of that energy in separation at this time, that ability of doing so, this is masculine being in that I want to say being in that space, that the gift that they're giving the feminine is being energetically adaptable. Like, welcome to Scorpio season. This is a masculine energy that's almost coming towards feminine and saying, what I desire isn't of what's importance. What are you energetically seeking at this time? Right? Because I see even now, and this, I need to stress this isn't the masculine being in that process of being energetically flexible because they don't know who they themselves are. This is the masculine energy moving towards feminine from a place of adaptability and saying, I am coming towards you, but I'm putting my own energetic needs aside because I'm carrying the empathy of navigating towards you in this process. And that is one that I'm putting you energetically first and foremost, right? And for a lot of the feminine energy navigating that, I see even now that there's something about that occurring that's fundamentally changing their own perception in the past in relationality to what they were receiving. And if that's occurring here, I see even now a lot of those fundamental shifts that are happening right now for feminine and separation in relationality to what feels like it is an alignment to them, as opposed to what feels like it isn't necessarily like moving them off of their own axis. Final card for today's spread between our Fool card in its reversal in combination with our Knight of Cups in its upright. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our High Priestess in its reversal. Now, masculine and feminine energy deep within divine union. And we need to talk about this because this came through. This came through. This was really, really important yesterday. Yesterday, we received the Empress card above the Star card in its reversal. I mean, in its upright, both cards in its upright. And that's why I feel like we're seeing this high priestess here in its reversal, right? Because I see that it feels to me like a lot of the feminine energy right now is moving through, like I told you, moving through back and forth through a lot of energetic emotions. Some of them, right? This is literally hot and cold. Okay, Empress to Star is hot and cold. Hot and cold. It's hot and cold. And so I see even now, like a lot of that, like a lot of energy of feminine is navigating how they're trying to energetically carry something. More importantly, what feels like it is in service to the higher self in relationality to how they're navigating forward at this time. I can see, like, this is what I mean about so much of this energy of the feminine right now, really like going into an internal journey. Because this is a lot of the feminine energy that is going through an energetic transformational process as it relates to the circumstances and situations that they find themselves surrounded by. So that ability of identifying and feeling a little bit of that like modality here, this is what I'm seeing about so much of that energy of the feminine, like navigating and recognizing how they're choosing to energetically carry something, right? And so that's why we see even now something about that stillness, something about that trepidation. I keep seeing the feminine almost trying to form the words to a certain extent because of everything that they're experiencing and feeling at this time. So I see even now so much of that like energetic frustration, so much of that energetic trepidation. This is a lot of that work of the feminine that is like navigating in separation in such a way that they're like, I keep seeing like, I'm going into my library. I just keep hearing from the feminine, I'm going into my library, like going inwards, trying to articulate and navigate how they're going to be moving forward. And that's why we see a lot of the masculine energy that's also feeling that same energetic weight, navigating forward in such a way, holding space, carrying that weight for the feminine. And that's why I see so much of that masculine coming towards feminine and saying, like, what is it? Like, you know, what feels that, like, again, not being prescriptive to the feminine, but almost amplifying and saying, what feels best for you at this time? What feels energetically supportive to you, right? And so even here, I feel like there's a lot of healing that's happening in relationalities, some of these new energetic connections that are forming, because a lot of that is the articulation of both the expansion point of frustration, right? Of frustration that leads to the recognition and understanding of like what that looks like going forward. And so even here, like this is a lot of that impact and power that's happening right now in separation, because so much of what we're seeing here is the amplification of the masculine energy in that space of healing that is feeling like, I want to say, like feeling that recognition point of being able to navigate through on their own energetic journey to a certain extent, in such a way that they're building energetic trust with feminine, coming towards feminine in such a way and saying, where you find me is I am on this energetic journey too. And I know, and if you're in that space of not necessarily being trusting, I want you to recognize and understand that that is something that I'm willing to build forth with you, right? While for masculine energy, like for feminine energy right now, that ability of building forth and having those energetic conversations, I see even now there's a lot of closure that is potentially occurring right now to feminine, wherein they feel like they didn't necessarily receive that same sense of conscientiousness and energetic care. While for masculine and feminine energy right now coming into divine union, so much of this work that I'm recognizing and identifying energetically coming into divine union at this time is the ability of taking new approaches, is the ability of being energetically adaptable. And it's difficult. It's rigorous here. I see even now so much of that work that's happening has to do with that sense or that space. The difficulty here has to do with masculine coming into divine union and going through like a maturation process. While for feminine, this is like karmic healing. This is like heavy karmic healing that is occurring here, because this is the feminine seeing the masculine energy going through that process of being able to change. And it's giving affirmation of anything in the past wherein that was considered or articulated as a limitation point, right? While for masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within divine union, this is a lot of the, I want to say, this is a lot of the same energy. And this is a positive, I will point out. This is very similar to the energy that we see right now in separation, which is feminine navigating and finding how they energetically feel, working through that space. And the masculine being in that space of energetically being protective towards the feminine in terms of holding space in relationality to the context through which the feminine desires to carry something. Bottom of the deck on this reading right now is, with our Five of Swords in its reversal. So much of this work that we're seeing at this time, and I gotta point this out, and this is what is difficult. This is where a lot of that intensity is occurring right now. Because for so much of this energy right now, across all of the frequencies, the value and empower of being able to look back on the past with a different perspective. That is how we learn, right? When we let go of the past, we lose our energetic lessons. So we see even now that a lot of that work that we're seeing is the context of the present that is articulating our own perspective of the past. It's amplifying right now, right? It's building into that context of energetic importance, because for a lot of this energy, this is creating spaces and places of closure, while at the same time, it's also creating that space of understanding the transformative power of what can change. So for masculine and feminine deep within divine union right now, that ability of being energetically adaptable, it feels cathartic. It feels cathartic because for the energy within divine union, that recognition of that always being part and parcel for the work that you're doing, that sense or space of not feeling the determination point of what changes around you that moves you away from your own intention. It can be harder sometimes, right? Sometimes it feels like the wind's moving in your favor. Sometimes it feels like it's not, but it doesn't change your own energetic direction. While for masculine and feminine energy right now coming into divine union, this is the energy that's recognizing the possibilities of being adaptable. And when we come into that space of adaptability, when we recognize the power of our own personal transformation, it changes our perspective of the past in profound ways. So a lot of the energy is in the process of doing that work right now. While for masculine and feminine in separation right now, I see even now, there's something about this wherein, again, the past, this feels like the recent past just became that feeling of the long-term past. Like this is at one of those moments that feels like everything is effectively changed. So even here, that ability of feeling and navigating those changes, this is a lot of that energy that's in that modality of almost encountering and finding one another in the midst of a transformation process. And so they're kind of like navigating through how to introduce to one another, to each other in the process, because everything feels like it's happening like in the present. Like it's happening like in the moment. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, graystrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber name at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way that you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. Also, a couple of updates before we move into personal readings today. First and foremost, I'm very excited to let you guys know that we are having our class this evening. I hope you'll join me over on my Substack, graystrega.substack.com. We will be getting into a deep dive on the Chariot card. If you are interested in becoming a part of our class program, all you need to do is head over to my Substack, graystrega.substack.com. Your paid subscription to my Substack is your ticket of entry into our class this evening. You'll also have access to the full repository of recordings and course materials of our previous classes. So you might not have time to catch up tonight, but again, the material is there for when you are ready. I will also be giving a recap on everything that we've studied thus far in each and every lesson. You'll also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything that we've learned thus far. And if you become a founding member to my Substack, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, but you will also receive a complimentary mentorship class with me, wherein we will assess where you are on your own personal tarot journey, and I'll give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage going forward. One of the things that I tried to focus on in creating these classes was making them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. So I want to thank you if you're just joining us there for the first time tonight, and I look forward to seeing you at this evening's class. But even if you are a subscriber here to my Substack, to my TikTok, make sure that you head over to our subscriber only Discord channel, because there you will find an additional discount code to give you a further discount on that subscription to my Substack. Even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my Substack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings and services. I also post my full schedule there, both for my in-person events and my online schedule. You'll also be notified as to giveaways. Speaking of giveaways, we are in the process of having our November giveaway. If you would like to win a free tarot reading with me, simply head over to the link tree in my bio. There is a 2-minute travel survey there. Filling out that travel survey will grant you an entry into the giveaway. But if you would like to increase your chances of winning, go ahead and forward that survey to a friend, because when I pull the winner, I'll be gifting a reading not only to the person that wins, but also to the person that referred them. So thank you if you've already entered, and I wish you the best of luck of winning this month. Finally, I want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These classes are for those students that are interested in having a more personalized experience learning from me. I take a very limited number for students for this reason. They are focused on whatever area of spiritual growth or personal development you are most invested in learning more about. Those can be purchased on an individual level or as a weekly class series. So that's 4 45-minute classes, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits. Also, for my clients that are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your own personal journey. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again